ones in Phoenix are just miserable because they crawl out of the sewer. He has them in the toilet, floating and swimming. Um, and then there's the whole story about the flying roaches that he just absolutely hated.
Okay, yeah, and then we move on to the Hal section of this reading. Again, here the defense undergarment.
Yeah.
And you want to take this one?
I don't care. If you want me to, I can. Or
yeah,
y'all.
I want you to.
You want me to?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So Hal's talking about how he likes to sneak away and smoke, and the little the lung pump room, and then it's this whole just intricate thing of where everything connects into the lungs, and how he likes to subtly sneak away, and how it's like perfect how like the one hitter is the best way to do it because it's super inconvenient. You burn all the weed, you inhale all of it. There's no left over. You can just like put it in a bag, 2 Ziploc bags, wrap it up, put it in a sock, and then put it in the bag, and no one's gonna smell it. Like he's like, there's this kind of like paranoia he has about it, but to him it's not paranoia. And how it's just everyone knows that he smokes and these certain peoples, and then of course this person knows too, but in this way, and then but these two people also smoke, and Hal has smoked with one of these people, so it's like this whole like inner monologue of like, oh yeah, these are the cool people, and this is who I like know and who knows me, but they don't know that I smoke because I'm so concealed about it. It's like this game to him of him doing his best to cover up.
Yeah, game. That's the way to put it. Game.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and then we move on. We touch back in again on the medical attaché, which I think there was a brief touch on between a couple seconds earlier. He's still just watching it.
He's still just watching this. Yeah. This thing, and then
in the chair.
Yeah, just sitting there. And then we move into the year of the dairy products from the American heartland.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is one of my favorite sections in the book because I think it's ridiculous. He talks about how drug dealers, they're more of just, they don't want to cause violence because they just want to get their fix. It's not about like committing the crime. I just need the money to get my fix. Like we don't need the violence. But then like, with Don Gately, like, as he raids this one in the end, because like he raids the one and it goes fine. They come home and they call and yada yada yada. It's a simple break-in. He trips the wire, cuts it so it seems like the alarm goes off, but is put out to say as if somebody turned it off and scared them away. But then there's the second half of this section where he like breaks in and the dude's there who's sick, and he gets the code and then stuffs his mouth with the rag, exactly where he knew that the kitchen rags would be, because in all of his places breaking in, every layout is the same. Everyone keeps their rags like 2 shelves down from the silverware. Like it's this very like, he feels kind of disgusted by it because he's like, I know this information that other people don't because I've done this. And then, he puts the rag in the guy's mouth, and then this dude's freaking out. He's got sinus problems. He's taken his antihistamines, and he can't breathe. And then the rigor mortis is setting in. Someone comes to the door and then shrugs it off and walks away, and he's like in full panic mode, and then ends up dying. And yeah, like that's I love that section because it's just so like ridiculous. It kind of like just dives into this crazy death. And I think that's where we stopped, right? Page 60?
Yeah, and then there's a quick paragraph that's kind of like, at least how I interpret it, was kind of like a video advertisement or something,
Yeah.
kind of informing you about this high-tech DVD computer system everyone seems to be using in their rooms, in their houses, that basically dominates the entertainment field. And that's where we stopped. So let's go back and let's just kind of walk through the section in a more detailed and analytical conversational sense. Okay, so back to the Wardine say her mama ain't treat her right section.
Jesus Christ.
What's your guys?
Yeah, the Jamaican section.
Yeah, the Jamaican section of the book. How do you guys feel about this section? Did you like it? It's definitely very, very different from anything we've read so far in the book in terms of vernacular and speech pattern. Did you enjoy it? Did you think David Foster Wallace achieved what he was going for in this type of immersive, POV? Max?
It was a rough one. It was a rough one to read. I had to look up online what was actually going on in this section. Yeah.
Max found a Sparknotes website that we'll drop in the chat, but it's a very, very handy tool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'll send it over in a second.
Link in the description down below.
Just overall, Max, quick, did you like it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it?
Yeah, I didn't like it. It's too hard to read.
Too hard to read. Okay. So interesting. In this more simpleton vernacular, the reading function of the book actually becomes more difficult. All right, Corey, what do you think of the section?
I mean, it's certainly hard to read, but I mean, it's not because it's simple. It's because she doesn't use the different tenses of words or commas. But I actually enjoyed it mostly because it was only a page and a half. If it was any longer, I probably would have lost my mind.
Oh, get ready.
Yeah.
Get ready.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, I know. I have the.
But I think Mr. Foster really likes to just like flex his writing abilities and like look at all the different ways I'm able to write well.
Yeah.
Fuck you guys.
Yeah. It really is.
I don't know. I like it often, and I don't think I liked it this time. That's what I would say about it.
That's fair. Yeah. Overall. Oh, Pat, did you want to weigh in here?
No, I'm okay. Why don't you go on?
Okay. Yeah. Definitely. Maybe my least favorite section of the book, but it is quick and it does have relevancy to the overall plot, as we'll see later on. But it is kind of a painful one. You just kind of got to plow through it. Also, what I thought was interesting is just how this, like Max said, it's just hard to follow. Even if you read it slowly, you read it out loud, it's hard to follow the narrative course of events forward as to exactly what happened and who the different characters are and their relation with one another, without having to reread again. But yeah, not my favorite. Moving on to Bruce Green, this section I did like, even shorter.
I love this section.
Yeah, real quick. Not too much flexing with the language, just real simple. Really a lot of exposition, but at the same time, it's only a page, and at the same time, I feel like we get this entire character's backstory. Very efficient use of space. I feel like Wallace switches back and forth between this. I'm gonna be a very efficient and effective. He doesn't use language like Hemingway does, but at the same time, the efficiency of language like Hemingway, almost journalistic, but it's also very immersive. What I thought was interesting about this one is how it talks about how Bruce Green, he's in love with Mildred L. Bonk. He's infatuated with her, even though she's
Unfortunate name.
Classic.
older and more attractive and more experienced. And how I interpreted it was he kind of fell into that lifestyle or that world that was alien to him because he wanted to pursue this girl that was a part of that world. Almost like his love interest drew him here to this point where later on, they've got a roommate with with snakes in boxes that are open, right?
Sand snakes?
He goes from a schoolboy to, living in a hellhole of a trailer, but he's happy. But is he happy because, he's really happy, or because he's, they're doing hard drugs? I don't know. What do you guys think of this section? Corey?
I liked the first half, and I progressively liked it less and less. But it's probably my favorite section so far.
The whole
and that's
book.
yeah, I mean, not of the whole book, of the first 39 pages. But
Of the whole book so far, but yeah.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really know why I liked it. It'll definitely be very interesting how he somehow ties this back into the rest of the story. Same with the last section, to be honest.
Okay.
I hope it's worth it,
Oh, it's worth it.
Okay.
It's all worth it.
If you claim so.
I'll believe it when I read it.
Yeah, I love that he
That's-
kept
you
Teddy
guys hear
Job
my
at
cat?
Leisure Time Ice.
What, Andy?
I like the ending of this section with the sentence where he's like, and he kept a steady job at Leisure Time Ice. And like life was just a big old party.
More or less.
He
More or
goes and
less.
sells ice and does drugs.
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good life. Max, any thoughts on this section? Any quotes? Any?
I'm just ready for the next section.
Okay, we can move on. That's fine. And this next section, was this the longest section of this? I don't know. Doesn't
No.
matter. This is the conversation.
No, I don't think so.
And
Doesn't matter.
Already
Pretty
knows
short
way longer.
section.
Yeah, the orange
yeah.
section's the longest one.
what I thought was interesting about this section is that it's purely dialogue. It reads almost like a screenplay. There are no descriptive sections.
Yeah, that's
he
hard to
doesn't
follow
even say-
sometimes, but
He doesn't even say Mario said or Hal said. You just pick that up through the dialogue. It's strictly in the words, in the conversation. And yeah, like Andy said earlier, we learn a little bit more backstory on these two, a little more on the Incandenza family. I believe this is where we learned that himself is passed,
It's dead.
and that the moms didn't really cope with it in a way that I don't know if either of them felt it was healthy. Hal seems to kind of seems to be coming to terms with that. I think one of the more interesting things we learn about her is that she used to go everywhere all the time afterward, kind of occupy herself and not mourn. And then after she became headmaster, she just kind of locked herself into the academy and now is never outside. She only travels by tunnel to the different rooms in her office. And then on page 42, Hal describes her as now she's just an agoraphobic workaholic and obsessive compulsive. That this strikes you as capification? That was a very interesting insight.
Yeah.
Last week, Corey, you talked about how Avril strikes you as a mentally unstable, or your guess was schizophrenic or multi-personality disorder, and Hal seems to have similar interpretations of his mother.
Yeah. Could be bipolar.
Could be.
Oh man, I was gonna say something. I also noted that what's his name? Mario.
Mario.
He's pretty young in this section.
Yes.
It's hard to say how old Hal is, but Mario, he was a kid when his dad died.
Yeah.
Right. And they're definitely dealing with it in different ways, right?
Yeah.
Like Mario wants to talk about it, and Hal really doesn't want the conversation to come up, even though it seems like Mario has broached it multiple times. Section. Max, did you say something?
yeah, this section contained my favorite quote.
Hit me.
End of page 40.
Okay.
I'll say, God seems to have a kind of laid-back management style I'm not crazy about.
I highlighted that section too, actually. I'm pretty much anti-death. God looks on all accounts to be pro-death, right? Very interesting perspective. Really like that part. What do you, yeah, I mean, Mario keeps asking Hal if he believes in God, and Hal's kind of deflecting the question.
Believe in good.
Doesn't really answer if he does or doesn't believe in God, but that he doesn't agree with God existing. How do you guys interpret that?
Poorly.
Charlie. All right.
I have a question for you, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
Page 42.
Okay.
Midway, a little more than midway down the paragraph. Don't cry.
Yep,
Boo
I
boo.
highlighted this as well.
Could you explain? Could you read and then explain this paragraph?
Well, one of my questions to the group was, how did we all interpret this? I'll start by reading it to give everyone an idea. Pat, feel free to jump in on this. Don't cry, Boo Boo. Remember, the flag only halfway up the pole. Boo Boo, there are 2 ways to lower a flag to half-mast. Are you listening? Because no shit, I really have to sleep here in a second, so listen. One way to lower the flag to half-mast is just to lower the flag. There's another way, though. You can also just raise the pole. You can raise the pole to like twice its original height. You get me? You understand what I mean, Mario? How? Question mark. She's plenty sad, I bet. And that's the section. Corey, how do you interpret that? What do you think Hal's trying to say to Boo Boo?
I mean, there's some kind of reference to how people are reacting to their father's death slash husband, but I don't know if I really get it on who's lowering the flag versus who's raising the pole.
Okay, yeah. I think how I would interpret it is that Hal and Mario have kind of lowered the flag to half-mast, when in opposition, Hal's theorizing that Avril has raised the pole, and that's why there doesn't seem to be much of a change of her character, or kind of an avoidance or distraction from that emotion or confrontation whatsoever. You know, the flag is at the same spot, right? She hasn't changed much, but the pole has definitely raised. And that's why I think afterwards he just goes, she's plenty sad, I bet. But definitely an interesting way to put into words that type of emotion. But you can see him throughout the entire section, him trying to alliterate that feeling. What else did I have? I liked when Mario was like, "Ooh," when Hal, in response to Mario bringing up how Hal kicked that guy's ass on the court. Who was it? Pamulin? Yeah, it was Pamulin.
Yeah.
I don't think it's good to rehash it when I've kicked somebody's ass. It's like a dignity thing. You know, I think that's interesting. We're really learning. We still don't really know who Hal is. This section of reading, I think, has given us a lot more into the internal life of Hal, not necessarily his stream of consciousness as we've seen before, but his actions, how he feels, what he does with his time, and this type of dignity seems to be very important to him. You know, like
Yeah, he's gonna keep his head.
Because he won, but you know he doesn't want to rub it in, and he doesn't want to talk about it too much. You know, to him it's just business. It's tennis. You know, that and his life are very separate things, though they both kind of dictate his life together.
I can't hear you. Oh, that was my problem.
He's a tennis player. You know, that's what he does. So it's all business. Another part I liked was the joke.
It's a good joke.
It was a good joke.
What was the joke? I don't remember.
Mario, what do you get when you cross an insomniac, an unwilling agnostic, and a dyslexic? I give. You get somebody who stays up all night torturing himself mentally over the question of whether or not there's a dog.
Yeah, that was a good joke.
Wow.
Yeah. What else did you guys take away from this section?
That the medical attaché is still watching the cartridge. I got that too.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
He's just sitting there.
Max, you want to hop in?
No, I think that Andy said it best.
Okay.
Yeah.
The medical attaché. All right. You guys want to move on to the next section with Oren?
I'd like to dwell on the previous section a little bit longer.
Sure.
I just messed it.
Okay. Corey, why don't you lead this one?
Okay, so I'm not gonna go in order exactly. We should certainly talk about this thing with the cockroaches and they're leaving the cups on the floor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Also, we learned.
Go ahead.
Also, we learned that this guy is an NFL player. That's kind of
Right.
important.
Yes.
Yeah, that was weird. But he's the punter, right?
Kind of a big deal too.
Yeah.
Like they put a couple players just to get him on the field out there, and where is he? Phoenix.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
a real,
he's being Cardinals.
real
Cardinals,
Kevin
right.
Wolfschlager. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the cockroaches is interesting. They talk about how he tried to kill one once, and it was like, too gruesome for him to like really to dwell on or to clean up after. You know, he said he threw away his shoe instead of cleaning off the sole. And now he just tortures them, right? He put the glass over them, and the roach dioxide suffocates them, and he just leaves them all over, right? They're just all over his apartment.
Yeah, that was weird. I mean, I would be more upset with like 5 roaches in the bathroom under cups than like killing the roach and throwing it away.
Sure.
It seems strange, but whatever. Anyway, the thing I wanted to talk about was, I mean, for one thing, like his sexual promiscuity of just like sleeping with women but not caring about them, I guess. But also, the latest woman he's with is like a psychiatrist or a psychologist, and she's watching the schizophrenia documentary like first thing in the morning, and he's just like hanging out in bed watching this documentary. I thought that was really strange. Maybe that's gonna be like, you know, a foreshadow of something in this book. Somebody's gotta have schizophrenia, or maybe it's me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Maybe. The book is
Kevin, I
supposed to live in his own life.
I wanted to see what you thought of the scene where he's wearing his mother's face, basically.
For the dream, yeah, that was one of my questions. How did you guys interpret not only that, but the whole dream? Obviously, I think it's kind of an anxiety dream for whatever reason, because it starts out with him on the tennis court, which he says is kind of a reoccurring thing, which nightmares usually seem to be. And then afterwards, he falls into a pit or void where he doesn't know which way is up, and then his mom's face is plastered onto his own. And this is one of my favorite endnotes. Because what does it say? It says like, yeah, Oren only ever digs into the surface level of his dream interpretations. You know, kind of like
That's a good footnote.
one, it's telling you how often Oren really takes time to analyze his own dreams and his own mental situation, which he seems to have some problems underlying. I mean, based on the way he treats women, and the way the way he leaves these cockroaches suffocating around his apartment, and the way he just has a indifferent or numb reaction to this dead bird falling into the hot tub. You know, it's kind of.
I love how it's described as like bobbing, as if it keeps flying. Like it's just he's
water.
sitting there with it, and it's just like bobbing in front of him. Love it.
Weird.
That part was weird.
Yeah, it also has one of my favorite quotes. Let me just get to it real quick.
Andy, where are you?
Huh?
Where are you?
I'm home right now. I just drove home.
Is that
Haley and I
Grace?
have yeah, that was Grace. Yeah, right there.
Aww.
But I have a wedding tomorrow. Haley and I have a wedding tomorrow for her cousin.
Congrats, man.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we're gonna go to that. Grace, sit down.
Gracie,
yeah,
Gracie.
oh, she hears that. Oh, where's it at? I'll find it. Y'all can keep talking, and I'll come to it. It's
Sure. Corey, do you have an interpretation of the dream sequence?
I'm trying to remember the dream sequence, to be honest.
Bottom of page 46.
Pat.
Damn it. What? What, man?
Come on, man.
I know, I'm not doing so great this game.
Yeah.
I got the quote.
He has the. Okay, go.
The jacuzzi chugs and foams. Just wanted to throw that one out there.
That's good. That's good. It's the little things, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I found it. Yeah, I think the dream.
Kevin, do you chug and foam?
I chug. I don't foam. I gave that up 2 years ago. Andy can attest.
Yeah, he doesn't foam anymore.
Tell
I
me
was
about the
foaming
last
like-
time
Yeah.
you foamed.
I
He
was
switched.
foaming like 3 days a week, and it was
Yeah,
really
He
hitting me
switched
hard.
to Floam.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
floams now.
It doesn't hit the same, but you know, it gets my fix, and I'm not focused on violent crimes. You know, I just want to get there.
You ever try foam patches or foam gum?
You know, I tried the gum once, and it just didn't do it for me. So I should try it again. I really should. You know, we have all this time indoors. I should use it for something.
Gotta get some of that synthetic stuff.
I think, you know, the fact that his mom's face is plastered right next to his and he's staring into it and can't avoid it is obviously this confrontation with his mother or his mother's personality or his mom on some sort of abstract plane that he can't seem to outrun or avoid. I don't know if it's because he's not at home anymore. We don't know what type of relationship he has with his family other than these late night phone calls he has with Hal that Hal keeps secret.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe there's something there he doesn't want to confront. Maybe something happened between him and his mom. I'm really not sure because I can't place this scene in the narrative yet.
His mom's. Come on.
Yeah, the mom. Yes, that's how I take it. But
I have a question.
sure.
And it kind of more relates to the last section.
Okay.
But so the last section with him, with Hal and Orin talking in bed,
Mm-hmm.
so that takes place in the same time frame as like he's at the tennis academy. I was under the impression that the tennis academy was more like a college and he had a dorm. But does he just live at home? I mean, if that's some kind of spoiler, don't say it.
No.
It's like a college prep thing where you're like,
It's a boarding school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's in high school.
So
just a
boarding
really-
schools, you live, right?
He
Yeah.
lives there.
So then, what? How is he with his brother? Because I
Oh.
thought he was like at his mom's house.
His
Or is
brother's
it
there
somewhere,
too.
right?
Well, they said the mom's got placed as headmaster.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
She's headmaster of the tennis academy.
So they all
Yeah.
live there.
So everybody's living in the tennis courts.
So his home is a
so
boarding
then-
school.
Mm-hmm.
So the headmaster lives at the boarding school.
That's
insane.
right.
Yeah.
Well, she's not living in a dorm. I don't think that's a spoiler. She has like a house, like right on campus.
She gets there
It's
by
like a
tunnel.
Hogwarts.
She gets
Um,
there by tunnel.
Yeah, but she gets there by tunnel.
she
And,
lives in the
Kim,
So
let's mention the Tunnel Club. Oh, we're not there yet. We'll go back.
I want to mention the fucking long ass section where they just describe the tunnels and buildings.
We're
That's
not
the
there
best.
yet. We're not there. Right
Well,
now,
let's
we're gonna
fast
talk about
forward.
the passage on page 47, he goes, not real bright. She thought the figure he traced without thinking on her bare flank after sex was numeral 8, to give you an idea.
Hmm.
What do you think he was drawing on her ass?
Numeral 8?
I mean, infinity, probably.
Oh, infinite jest. Okay.
Or
I think
he is saying you were
That's
number
Big
8.
Jizz.
You're number 8.
okay, yeah.
That's
so
what I
that
thought when I
happened.
first read it.
And then, I'd like to note that on page 48, he talks about how he wants her to leave and take the rest of her Toblerone out of the freezer and go. You know, just
Yep,
a call
a
back
lot of
to the medical
Toblerone.
attaché section with the Toblerone again. I don't know if it has a more significant thematic meaning or it's just a reoccurring symbol of commercialism in the book.
Well, what's he gonna do with all that Toblerone?
Toblerone funded this book.
Yeah,
I wouldn't-
Right.
they
So
were
it was
sponsored.
the Prince guy that loved the Toblerone, right? Not
Yeah,
the
that's right.
attaché.
The Prince guy, that's why he had the bad mouth, and that's why the medical attaché is there treating his mouth sores all day, every day.
It's horrifying.
It is horrifying.
Still sitting in the chair.
And then, before we move on, one last thing I noticed on page 49. Oren also shaves in the shower, face red with heat, wreathed in steam by feel, shaving upward with south to north strokes as he was taught.
I knew you'd talk about that sentence, Kevin.
Why?
You're just obsessed with shaving.
No.
What does that even mean? I never shave.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
you
you're too
can't stop
obsessed with
talking
it.
about it.
Yeah.
Mr. Haircut over here. God damn.
Hey, I need one. I'm holding out.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just interesting that, as like an inside, almost interjected into the sentence itself, he mentions that he's shaving the way he was taught to shave. I don't know if that's something Oren thinks about when he's doing it, like a memory he returns to, or it's the narrator informing us a little more about the exposition of his childhood. So, presumably his father teaching him how to shave. The man in their life that we now know is dead, who seems to be the center of everything. Just an interesting passage. Moving on to page 49, year of the Depend adult undergarment. Max, do you want to take this one?
Sure. So,
All right, do it.
Hal is getting secretly high
Yeah.
in what they call the pump room,
Yes.
which the description is kind of weird, but it's in some type of tunnel. He focuses a lot on using this one-hitter device, which I know Pat can tell us more about.
I don't know what you're referring to.
Uh, he lists off a bunch of acquaintances that
Right.
also
You don't need to
do
recap it,
drugs.
but is there like any part of it that you thought?
And Kevin, I wasn't done yet.
Right.
There's a lot of information about drugs in this section, and way too many footnotes about fucking drugs. In the footnotes or the end notes have their own footnotes. Kind of.
That's the best part of the book. Footnotes.
Yeah, just absurd. What else? They talk about Hal's drinking.
They do. They spent a good amount of time on that too.
And they mentioned that his father himself was an alcoholic.
Was a drinker. And a
So
fiend.
yeah, just a lot of talk about drugs and alcohol.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to point out that on page 50, they mention that not only that his father had drunk, but that his father's own father before him was also a drunk. So there's obviously a history of alcoholism that we're all aware of. And Avril seems to be very frightened about Hal's intake of alcohol because she doesn't want him to turn into what his father, her husband, and his father's father was before him. Like there's a history of decay because of alcohol or using that as a crutch. But it seems like Hal tends to prefer marijuana and other hard drugs. But what else we got here?
I do love the dedication to telling everything about the tunnel system.
I hate that. I hate it so much.
Big fan. I
Yeah,
love
I hate it.
It's the pump room via a targeted tunnel hastily constructed by the Testar all-weather inflatable structure core, which together with the folks over at ATH SCME Industrial Air Displacement Devices erects and services the inflatable dendrourethane dome known as the Long. It's beautiful. I mean, that's...
It is beautiful the way he describes it, but at the same time, what I like is how he uses this test academy, this fictional location, and gives you an amount of detail to convince you that it does exist, whether or not you can comprehend it. But what I like is how he uses this fictional structure intricately to be like a character in the book. Like this type of secrecy or habit couldn't take place the same way somewhere else. It's in this deep tunnel system underground that has this convenience of being connection of multiple rooms, and at the same time almost hidden, or like he says, you have to like crawl in some places, and like adults don't really ever go down there, but the tunnel club is the only people that really know
Tunnel
about
Club.
it.
It was like the small people tunnel club or something.
The smaller kids tunnel club.
The all-first type crawling.
And as if it was not enough that he talked in length about the tunnel system in the buildings.
Yeah.
Then there's an end note where he also describes the layout of the facility.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So
You can't avoid it. You just can't.
And it's at points like this where I think to myself, we could have read any book.
You wanted to read this.
Any book. I mean, I wasn't real serious about it until you sent Corey a copy. Then I knew I had to.
Okay, so what I really like is on page 49, Hal is by himself down here, and nobody knows where he is or what he's doing. Hal likes to get high in secret, but a bigger secret is that he's attached to secrecy as he is to getting high. And then he talks about how, they stress that it's a secret. He likes things being a secret. And then on page 50, the first third of the page is a paragraph describing everyone else that knows. And it's fucking everybody. Okay?
And he keeps saying like like he keeps remembering more people.
Yeah.
Like, and probably
or Boone, Jim Trollish, Ted Schatt, Trevor Axford, possibly Kim D. Coyle and Tim Show, remotely possibly Franny You Win, and it just goes on.
Oh, it's amazing.
I hope there's callbacks to those people in later chapters.
Oh, they're all characters. We will meet every single one of them. So that's
really
Paul Shaw. Yeah, that's just how you're introduced to them. They've talked about Emulus.
This is awful.
In the last chapter, that's who he kicked ass. That's whose ass he kicked on the tennis court. And he's the only guy he's gotten high with. He doesn't like getting high with people. But all of them come into play. And your first big introduction to this group is how they know he gets high, which I think is interesting. Moving on from that, I think it's interesting that Hal puts so much effort into this secret, which the only person it's really a secret from seems to be Avril. Avril, they describe on page 51 as Avril suffers so uncomplainingly with is a black phobic dread of hiding or secrecy in all possible forms with respect to her sons. So it's like one thing she hates, her greatest fear is secrets. And her son's got a giant one that he goes through the greatest lengths to keep. Do you guys think it's like an act of rebellion, like he's aware of this fear of hers? Or do you think that he's just prone to secrecy? Calm down.
I think he's just a secret guy, He likes to keep to himself.
I mean, earlier in the book, he was lying to Mario about the calls from Orin.
Exactly.
So
see, yeah. I think it's more of a game for him.
Yeah.
Like you said, he likes to keep secrecy. He likes to keep secrets more than he likes to get high. And I think for him, it's like a game for him. It's like, if someone finds out, it's not as good of a secret as maybe other ones that I have. So I need to do my best to always compete with myself.
Oh, okay. The self competition, just like his tennis.
Exactly. It's. I think he just is competing with himself.
Interesting. I like that. I really like that, Andy.
I definitely agree with that. What you guys were saying about how he keeps it a secret. But on top of that, and we mentioned it earlier, he does everything in a very particular, planned out way, kind of the same every time. He has all of these things thought out of beforehand.
Yeah.
He has this specific.
But this lacks a certain intricate, subterranean, covert drama. That's a
right.
quote.
That's what he wants.
Yeah.
But
you're right. He's in it for the drama.
On top of that, this is exactly what the guy was doing in the other chapter, who was an addict and the guy who smoked the $1,200 of marijuana.
Oh yeah,
the best.
This is the exact same thing he was doing. He was making this elaborate plan and running through everything, and he didn't care as much about the drugs as he cared about the process,
the routine, and
keeping it a secret from everybody. Exactly the same as what Hal's.
The routine is the real drug.
Great connection there. Yeah, it's interesting. It seems like part of the addiction process has to do with the secrecy of it all, or the ritual of
the planning. Yeah.
Another section I highlighted was a quote on page 53. American experience seems to suggest that people are virtually unlimited in their need to give themselves away on various levels. Some just prefer to do it in secret. What do you guys think that David Foster Wallace is saying about this American experience and giving yourself away to
I don't know what that means.
I think what he means is in this certain section, he's talking about giving himself away both to the devout practice of tennis and the sport and that lifestyle, and also the giving himself away to this intricate secret routine of getting high in the subterranean tunnels under the academy. You know, like he defines himself through his actions, and instead of like an internal self, like he is a tennis player who secretly gets high. Those are two things that define him. Those are two things that occupy a lot of his time and a lot of his thinking and a lot of his processes. Like that's who he is. You know, the way like someone might give themselves away to their job or you know, to a relationship.
Kevin, what do you give yourself away to?
I don't know. That's why I started thinking about this. I was like, what am I? How do I define myself? And do I like the things that I give myself away to? Do those things rightly define me?
Like, I think you're giving yourself away to this book.
You give yourself away. Yes, I do. I do like the book. Max, I would say that like you give yourself away to like the military or the Air Force. Like, how does that sit with you? Do you think that's a decent description of you as a person?
Listen, military gives my time from 8 to 4, and that's it.
And he's a civilian.
And in the words of Corey, I don't get out of bed for less than 60 G's.
God damn.
I mean, what I think he's explaining with this is that, like, the American experience is to have a fix, is to be, like, a consumer of something that is your own, whether it's in secret or not. Like, people have their fix and their addiction to things that are very public, but some...
We're all getting high in some capacity.
We're all getting high, and that's the American experience, is like...
That's the American dream, baby.
We're allowed to kind of have our fix in any way we want, of anything we want, whether in secret or not, you know, like, yeah.
I feel like there's a distinction though, because like what a lot of people do to get their fix is not really the same as the obsessive addiction that these guys are having with what they do. Those are different levels of the same thing, maybe.
And is that because it's a secret? Right?
Does that imply it's a secret? Is that what you said?
I mean, no, I'm saying like, is this obsessiveness to his fix, to his giving himself away to it, because it's a secret, you know? Like other people have or give themselves away to things and cultures and activities that they keep secret and can take on the same obsessive or routine manner like this drug addiction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you were like a gay man or something and you were really involved in like an underground scene that was very separate from a different part of your life, maybe you take on...
Are you speaking from personal experience?
You came up with that example so quickly, Kevin.
Yeah, very quick.
Kev's talking about his American experience.
God bless the USA. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, no.
Another section I highlighted was on the next page, page 54. Like most North Americans of his generation, Hal tends to know way less about why he feels certain ways about the objects and pursuits he's devoted to than he does about the objects and pursuits themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, his fix is just how things get there, not necessarily like your destinations and stuff, but it's the intricate ways of how you get there. That's why he enjoys his secrecy, because it's a plan. It's kind of an event. It's not the end all. It's not the end product. It's how it was made. And you can see that, I think, with the section on the talking to the conversationalist. You know, for him, it's everything that he says is either like questions of, you know, and theory, and it's not necessarily these hard facts or hard statements that he's putting out. It's very much so the journey of the conversation. So for him, yeah, his addiction may not be the act, but it's the how he gets there. I just threw a bunch of words out in the air.
I followed most of them.
Is Kevin sleeping?
I'm writing. Sorry.
He's
alerting his friends that he just gave out his gay underground
They got
sex cult. He's like, guys, they know.
burn the place. Burn it. Okay, yeah. So then after that, we touch back on the meta. Did anyone else have anything to say about that HAL section?
No, that's a pretty good section. I like the longer ones, I think, because there's actually a story.
Right, and you get sucked in. You know, when they're short, I feel kind of detached, but when they're longer, you can really get immersed in the setting. Really immersed in the setting this time. You know what I mean?
No.
Okay.
Ladies, take a break. Kevin, you know what I'm talking about.
So then we touch back in on the medical attaché, still watching the tape in his recliner, and it ends. He sits there attached to a congealed supper, watching at 12:20, having now wet both his pants and the special recliner.
What was that about?
He's just sitting there.
Just sitting there watching the movie.
He just pissed his pants?
Present.
I mean, I did the same thing when I was watching Lord of the Rings for the first time.
I mean, I did the same thing when I was reading Infinite Jest the first time.
Heyo.
After that, it's just real quick section.
Real
about,
quick section?
Mario being a kind of designated videographer for the tennis team.
Yeah.
That was weird.
Yeah, he's just the guy.
It's just a quick little exposition kind of setting up later scenes. So I think that's why it's so short as well.
Yes.
The reason being it's a lot easier to fix something if you can see it. Do you guys think that quotation right there has significance to the other sections we've been reading?
Nope.
Okay, and moving on. Autumn, Year of the Dairy Products from the American Heartland. What was this section? Oh, this was Gatly. Okay.
Yeah, this is the.
Andy, do you want to take this one?
Sure, I can talk about it a little bit. So yeah, it starts out. We're talking about drug addicts. Their drive for crime's different than say a violent offender, where a drug addict doesn't really want to cause harm. They just want to. They're acting in response to what they need. Where sometimes criminals will act in response, because it's what they just want to do. So it's kind of like a need versus want basis. Then he talks about Gately, who's this just superhuman sized man with a big square jaw. Yeah, and he's into stealing. He's just really into I guess non-violent crimes. He's really good at it. And then he kind of raids the ADA's house, and I forget what he steals. I just need to he gets the shotgun collection, and what was the other thing?
Some coins.
It was coins, yeah, coins in the shotgun collection. And then he's so good at it. He's like, I'm gonna trip the alarm, but then I'm gonna turn it off to make it look like somebody turned it off.
Right.
As if I'm not, tripping the alarm. It's if someone shooed them away. So he's very, methodical about it. And the ADA was just, it didn't seem like a big deal. I don't know. I read it and I was like, he's not too upset with it. They kind of just, their life goes on. Some things got stolen, whatever. So be it. This crime was really well done. I guess, yeah, and then I'm just kind of skimming along as I read this section. I read it today at work. Yeah, the ADA gets an envelope to his home. It's pictures of Don Gately, and they're in the clown masks. I believe they're bent over.
Toothbrush up their butts.
Yeah, they're mooning them with toothbrushes in the buttholes. Yeah.
KCM's done that before.
An interesting part, right? I don't have it here, and I didn't underline it, but they mentioned how it's a Polaroid that's pixelated.
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting only because this is the 90s before digital cameras really took off, and Wallace predicts that Polaroid will be able to make that jump and become a digital camera company, when Polaroid notoriously was one of the few that did not make the switch and ended up going under. little thing I thought was interesting. Other than that,
yeah, and then in the next part, we're talking about Don Gately's going to rob this, other place in the Berkshires, I believe, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, nobody's home. Gets in. Turns out this dude is still home. He's just in bed, sick. Just got a mean sinus infection. Well, no, he's got the cold, rhinovirus. That's what it is. And he's like sipping OJ. Got his NyQuil. Dude's just suffering.
Non-COVID NyQuil.
Yes. And so he's 90% of the time people hide their safes within the wall, but it's behind some, nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he's like, and it goes to the same thing where he's telling me, he's like, all right, the rags are gonna be 2 drawers down from the spoons. We're gonna keep all of our notepads and stuff next to the drawer next to the phone. And he's like thinking to himself, and he's like kind of sick at the thought that he has this knowledge because he's done this so much. And so this guy, he puts him in the chair and he's like, please don't put the gag in my mouth. I can't breathe out of my nose. Please don't do that. And then gives him the number to the safe in French.
I thought that was interesting, that the only thing that really that stopped this crime from being prevented, or that could have stopped the violent turn in it, was the language barrier between the two.
Exactly. This dude he's got his Quebecois, and Gately was just like, yeah, whatever. Gags the dude, and later on, the dude just dies because he has rhinovirus. Any other scenario, this dude would have been fine.
Not in America.
Nah, fuck the French. You know what I'm saying?
That part annoyed me, to be honest.
Yeah.
As a doctor?
Obviously Mr. Dave is like very well researched in what he's talking about, and like he's going through the drug section super in depth for some reason. He brings up other random things in depth that like the average person wouldn't have knowledge of. He obviously has a wide vocabulary, but if you gag somebody with a cold, they're not gonna die.
No.
Your nose clears, fight or flight. Come on, Dave.
Sure.
So that part annoyed me.
I think that
Mr. Wallace, please.
Absurdity
Thank you,
of the narrative.
Yeah, I guess it was an absurd section, but I mean, most of the book is realistic fiction.
That's true.
Yeah,
Is there anything that couldn't have happened until this part? I mean, I can't say it's possible, but it seems highly unlikely.
Okay.
Probably the what was that section, like Marlene?
Oh, Wardeen.
That's probably not likely.
Okay, that too. Sections are okay. And I thought it was interesting on page 59, the narrator, who's kind of like an omniscient narrator in this section instead of being a direct POV like other sections, described the Quebecer as a meek-looking Canadian terrorism coordinator, bound to his chair, thoroughly gagged, sitting there alone under cold, fluorescent kitchen lights.
Yeah.
I also think it's interesting, right there at the end of that, they have a note number 20, and how he goes on to describe Canada and its difference to America at this point in time, how fluorescent lights are outlawed, and so are annoying advertisements of little cards and magazines that you have to look at in order to pick up. Almost like America's kind of fallen down this hole of advertisement and corporate government, and Canada's kind of an idealized world in the book. Something that's more civilized or more close to human ideal interaction in a way, not as prone to distraction. Or that's how I felt it conveyed it through that small passage.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to say about this section, and Kevin just mentioned it, was the narrator.
Yeah.
and how it's like it's not only like a separate viewpoint or whatever, but it does seem to like it happened in the past, and it's a narrator who doesn't quite have all the facts.
Yeah.
Like he's like, like this was most likely, or this was what we assumed, or whatever. Like including like the accomplice and stuff. But it really reminded me of like any of those murder mystery movies where like the narrator's like kind of walking you through the story. Like that was that on the Polar Express or whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
That movie, the Chinese Express.
The Orient Express. The Polar.
Yeah,
Polar Express.
The Chinese Express.
You did it with
Orient. Oh God. I had a coworker describe Asian people as Oriental the other day. That was bad.
Not the correct nomenclature. One of my favorite quotes from this section is when the narrator describes Gatly as a big square-headed guy who would let his friends open and close elevator doors on his head for fun.
Yeah, it's like, what the hell?
It's
like
just kind of like in there. It has nothing to do with the narrative. It's just like, that's how you know him. Sure, this guy is a mastermind crook and a drug addict, but we're not going to talk about the drug addiction too much. We're only talking about the crime or his burglary skills in relation to the scene. But we're going to tell you about the elevator doors. You need to know that.
Yeah, no.
That was fun. That was just funny.
All right, I'm on 1%, guys, so I gotta take off.
Okay, yeah, I think we're pretty wrapped up.
Cool. So I will. I'll...
Infinite Digest. Thank you for tuning in. And what are we reading next week?
85.
Okay, 85.
So it is.
Sure.
Okay, Pat, you're gonna catch up, right?
You know me.
Well, that answers that.
All right, take care, folks.
Peace out.
Bye.
Hold on.
Now the deadweight's gone.
About time. Okay, let's really fucking talk about it.
Let's really talk about it.
Let's get deep and dirty into it.
Deep and nasty.
We're about to get real.
Right, the world may never know.
And for real, deep dive.
Get rid of this PG Infinite Jest.
Hey, what'd you guys think of this section overall?
Ugh.
Did you like it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it?
It was pretty medium, I'd say.
I have no strong feelings one way or the other.
Yeah.
Sure.
It was a pretty good story. It was more engaging than a lot of the sections. More easy to read too, I'd say.
Definitely. Well, I think it gets easier the deeper you get into it, and I think that's why
things close in.
I think that's kind of on purpose. Like there are sections that are just there and are overly, technical and difficult to read. Like when he's describing the tennis academy, I get really bored. The book that's in words is spending pages on visuals and layouts that I can't. Like, there's no map. There's no fucking map. You think there'd be a picture, right? He could, in that space, he could just have a picture and we could lose a whole page. But no, he has to do with words.
It's probably good that he cut 400 pages out of this book, Kevin. Could you imagine if
no,
I all this shit like that he cut out?
Like if that made it in the book, what do you think he fucking did, right?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
exactly.
No worse than that.
I heard he cut the graphic sex scenes.
What?
Yeah. There were gonna be a bunch of sex scenes, but he cut those. He didn't think it was right.
We really missed out, boys. Yeah, I think that as we progress, it'll get better because, like I said, there's not really chapters or sections. It's just kind of like we're kind of just like tuning into a movie. Like there's not a lot of arcs or closure. You just keep hopping back in. There's no really beginning or ends. We're just you're stuck in it, right? Which I think is interesting. But I mean, if you look at your book, we're kind of a chunk in now.
It gets worse every week.
Well, are you guys not enjoying this?
I love it.
Okay, good, because I really look forward to this, and I enjoy the discussion, and I want to thank you all for being here. Pat, how are you enjoying the book?
I am so enthralled with it. I can't even describe it.
Enthralled. He's enthralled. Ugh.
I mean, how would you describe feelings like that?
It's like
It's like kissing Kevin for the first time.
I'd have to talk to Brad on that.
Put the big brain on Brad. Okay, well, boys.
Boys will be
Kev?
boys. Kevin?
I think we're good.
Kevin?
All right.
Alrighty.
Just heads.
Just heads. Let's call ourselves jesters.
Just freaks.
All right, let's stick to friends.
Jest for men.
I like that. That's good. I'm writing it down. Just for men.
I mean, that could be the name of the group.
That's good. Okay. Let's
Is that how we wrap it up?
How was your guys' day?
It was good.
Yeah? How was it really?
Actually okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm really there.
Saw you streaming in the middle of the day there.
I wasn't.
That wasn't today?
No.
Was that yesterday?
It might have been Riley you saw streaming.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I get the two of you guys mixed up.
They look the same.
One of them literally has my name in it.
What's Riley's stream name?
The Starfish Daddy.
What?
Yeah.
That's like really sexual.
Is it?
Yeah.
He's a power bottom.
That's what the fuck?
He's a power bottom.
He starfishes from the bottom.
Guys, that's where the gay subculture came from. Riley's butthole. Starfish.
Got him.
Got it.
More like the gay fish daddy. Am I right?
Ooh.
What's
So right.
your problem, Max? Like, what is your deal?
You.
I was I was listening to this interview with David Foster Wallace on my lunch break, and
Oh God.
it was like a call-in Q&A on NPR after like a guided discussion, and I was waiting for someone to call in and just be like, "What's your problem? You write a fucking book like this."
You should do it.
He's dead.
Oh, it's an old
He's
one.
dead?
Yeah,
I thought we already talked about that.
he killed himself.
So we're never gonna know where the ducks go.
I'm waiting for that guy's books to come out. Okay. I'm
Wait,
waiting.
what's that? What time is the sunset here?
Did you just ask me that?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
The sunset's at 9 here.
Albuquerque is 7:57.
Fuck.
What?
All right,
I'll
boys.
make it 8:37.
I'm signing off.
Alrighty.
Give an outro.
Bye,
See you,
Fred.
Ken.
Just for men. Tune in next
See-
week.
Beautiful.
God, I
Bye,
hate
you
this.
too. Bye, guys.
Bye bye.
Good luck, Max.
Bye.
Bye.
Alrighty, Pat. Good work, man. Good work.
Thank you. What are you up to?
You're winning.
I am.
What am I up to? Nothing. Go watch some TV, drink a beer, I think.
I like it. Oh, that's a shame. There goes.
Oh, actually, I got to check my bicycle. Got to do some bicycle riding in the morning. So,
Ooh.
yeah.
You gotta get on.
Alrighty.
All right,
We'll
man.
see you, bud.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. you. Yikes. Bam. That's how it's done. Do. Uh-oh. Damn. Give me a minute. a save. An absolute save. Whoops. Shouldn't have missed that one. Alright. More to be seen. That's how you fucking. That's how you GG's. The hurt on. Let's do this. Hey. Oops. Oops. You gotta be quicker than that. Come on, man. Yeah, I don't know what you want. Let's keep it going, my friend. Oops. That's some shit. I'm just gonna stomp these fucking guys, make them quit. Double tap original. Derpy Dolphin. Oh. Okay. There's the mistake. There is your mistake. Boom, baby. God damn. Let me know when you've had enough, kid. Giving up